At 20:17 a.m., I stood in my home office holding a document that proved my wife had been forging my signature for 8 months. Rain hammered the windows. The desk lamp threw harsh shadows across the pages spread before me. Property transfers, beneficiary changes, account authorizations bearing my name, but not my actual signature. 30 years in commercial real estate, and I've signed my name maybe 10,000 times. The muscle memory runs permanent. Richard James Harwell. The R always starts with a confident sweep, loops twice at the top, connects cleanly to the I. Distinctive. Consistent. Mine. These signatures. Close. Careful. Practiced, but wrong. She'd traced my name, studied the rhythm, mimicked the pressure. Everything perfect except those two small loops at the top of the R, too round. Too hesitant. Someone drawing a signature instead of signing it. Above me. Vanessa slept in our bedroom. Peaceful. Comfortable. Probably dreaming about the future she was building with my assets. My hands shook. Before I tell you how this happened, if you're invested in stories about family betrayal and justice, please hit that like button and subscribe to Familic's Revenge. It helps me share real stories like mine. Now let me take you back to where this began. At 56, I've built my life on reading details others miss. That's how you succeed in commercial real estate. Notice the crack in the foundation before the inspector does. Spot the clause buried on page 40. 7. That changes everything. Catch the half-second pause before someone says yes to a deal. My mother raised me alone after my father walked out when I was 8. 2 jobs kept us stable. Bank teller during the day, restaurant hostess 3 nights a week. Trust became currency in our house. Spend it carefully. Verify everything. Harwell Development Group started when I was 20. 8 with one small mixed-use property in a neighborhood everyone said was finished. 30 years later, 17 properties across 3 states. You don't build that by being careless. Margaret was my first marriage. College sweethearts who reconnected at 30 after a few years apart. She taught high school English, loved books more than people, but loved me anyway. Daniel arrived when I was 28, same year I started the company. She used to joke about having 2 babies that year, and the business cried less. 25 years together, then ovarian cancer, stage 3 at diagnosis. 18 months of treatment cycling through hope and setbacks. She fought like hell while I sat through every appointment, every scan, every midnight terror when sleep wouldn't come. 4 years ago, she died. Daniel held my arm at the beach where we'd married while I scattered her ashes. 52 years old and alone again. 2 years of that specific loneliness that comes from losing someone who knew you completely. Work, home, 50-30 a.m. runs, avoiding social events. Daniel visited weekly, worried. Patricia, my attorney and friend for over 20 years, kept inviting me to dinners I never attended. Then came the charity gala. Company obligation, not choice. Major donor means mandatory appearance. Vanessa was coordinating volunteers, moving through the ballroom with auburn hair catching the light, elegant posture, intelligent eyes. She approached me at the bar. You're Richard Harwell. Not a question. I've heard about your wife. Margaret, right? I'm sorry. Most people avoided mentioning Margaret, thought it was kinder. Vanessa asked about her, what she was like, what she taught, how we met. She listened to my stories without that pitying expression I'd grown to hate. After maybe 20 minutes of me talking, she said, "She sounds like she was extraordinary." She was. Thank you for asking about her instead of pretending she didn't exist. We talked for another hour. Books, she'd read everything. The city, development, family. She mentioned her brother Marcus struggling with his construction supply business. Never asked about my company, my properties, my money. Asked about Daniel instead, about how I was handling the emptiness. It felt different, patient, real. 6 months of courtship followed. Coffee, then dinner, then weekend walks. She never pushed, never hinted at moving faster. When I told her I wasn't sure I could love someone again, she said, "I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to have dinner on Tuesday." A year after we met, I proposed. Daniel was cautious but supportive. "If she makes you happy, Dad, that's what matters. Just be sure, okay? You deserve someone who sees you, not just what you've built." The certainty felt solid then. Small wedding, Daniel, Patricia, a few close friends, Vanessa's brother Marcus. Portugal for the honeymoon. Life stabilizing again, normal. Like maybe partnership could happen twice in one lifetime. The first year was comfortable. Vanessa joined charity boards, attended company events, decorated the house. She asked about my day, cooked on weekends, seemed genuinely interested in building a life together. Second year, she started being helpful with finances. You're so busy. Let me organize these files for you. I can handle the filing, the document sorting. You focus on the deals. Partnership, I thought. Inventory, I understand now. Patricia's voice on Wednesday morning carried an edge I'd never heard in 22 years of friendship. Richard, can you come to my office today? There's something you need to see regarding the annual estate review. Can't we handle it over the phone? This needs to be in person. How's 2 o'clock? Arriving at 1:55, I found documents already spread across her conference table. Patricia's office overlooked the financial district, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, law degrees on the walls. She'd handled Margaret's estate, attended Daniel's college graduation. This wasn't just my attorney. This was family. Her expression was tight, professional, angry. I need you to look at these carefully. Tell me if you authorized any of them. Property transfer applications, beneficiary change requests for life insurance, account access authorizations, all dated over the past 18 months, all requiring my signature, all bearing my name. Picking up the first document, I stared at the signature line. My stomach dropped. I didn't sign this. Look at the others. 6 documents. 6 signatures. 6 forgeries. The loops. The words came out quiet. The loops on the R are wrong. Whoever practiced this got everything else right, but not the loops. Patricia slid another stack toward me. These are access logs from your business accounts. Someone's been logging in with your credentials, downloading financial statements, researching your asset structure. The IP address is traced to James Kellerman's investment firm. I don't know anyone named James Kellerman. Your wife does. She's been in contact with him for at least a year. Patricia's tone was careful, measured. I hired a private investigator after the third document showed up with irregularities. Richard, this isn't coincidence. This is systematic. The room tilted slightly. My grip tightened on the table edge. How long have you known? 2 weeks. I needed to be certain before bringing this to you. I'm sorry. I know this is Vanessa. Not a question. A stone dropping into water. Patricia nodded. The investigator found evidence she's been photographing documents in your home office, cloud backups with timestamps. Since month 4 of your marriage. The memory surfaced, Vanessa organizing my files, her helpful suggestions about simplifying the estate structure, the way she'd encouraged me to give Daniel space. Let him build his own life without relying on me. She's been isolating me from my son? Yes. How much has she taken? Bank records emerged from Patricia's stack. Joint accounts show transfers totaling $240,000 to Morrison Building Supply. That's her brother's company. The transfers show your authorization signature. Also forged. $240,000 to Marcus. Money supposedly for home renovations Vanessa had planned. Renovations that never happened. Does Marcus know? Unknown, but the timing suggests he's an unwitting beneficiary. His business was failing. Suddenly his debts got paid off. I doubt he asked hard questions about the source. Settling back in the leather chair, I watched the city sprawl beyond the windows. People going about their normal Wednesday afternoons, while my world decomposed in a conference room. What else? She's prepared a separate apartment lease under a shell company. Filed 2 weeks ago. Exit strategy. Planning to leave. Eventually. But not yet. The documents suggest she's still building her position. Trying to secure more assets before the exit. That morning flashed through my mind. Vanessa kissing me goodbye. Asking if I wanted salmon or chicken for dinner. Touching my arm. You look tired. Maybe skip your run tomorrow and sleep in. Performance. Every touch, every question, every domestic moment. Calculated. Tell me something, and be honest. How stupid have I been? Patricia's expression softened. You were lonely. You were grieving. She saw vulnerability and exploited it. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes her a predator. What do I do? Legally. We document everything, protect your assets, prepare for divorce proceedings, consider fraud charges if you want to pursue them. Shaking my head, I said, I need time. Need to understand the full scope before she knows I know. Richard, I'm not confronting her today. I'm going home, acting normal, and finding out exactly how deep this goes. Can you help me with that? Patricia studied me for a long moment. Yes. But you need to be careful. If she realizes you're investigating, she could accelerate her timeline. Take what she can and run. Then I'll be very careful. The drive home happened in a fog. Garage door opening automatically. Vanessa's car in her usual spot. Classical music playing from inside the house. Something she liked while cooking. For 45 minutes I sat in my car. Engine off, just sitting. Replaying 2 years of marriage through a new lens. Every suggestion about simplifying finances. Every, let me handle this for you. Every encouragement to give Daniel independence. Every organized document. Every kiss. Every smile. Every, I love you. Was any of it real? Finally going inside, I found Vanessa at the stove making risotto. She turned and smiled. Hey, how was your day? Fine. Just estate planning stuff with Patricia. Nothing exciting. Good. She came over and kissed my cheek. Dinner in 20 minutes. Watching her return to the stove, stirring, humming, comfortable in my kitchen, my house, my life, the thought formed clear and cold, she has no idea I know. And I'm keeping it that way until I understand everything. That night, sleep wouldn't come. At 2 a.m., I went downstairs to my office and started going through files. That's when I found the property transfer document. The one with the wrong loops on the R. The one that started all of this. Saturday came with Vanessa's regular spy appointment. 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, every single week for the past year. Massages, facials, whatever else justified 4 hours and $300. Her car pulled out of the driveway. Then I went to work, the home office first, photographing every file she'd organized, every document she'd touched. Her laptop sat charging on the kitchen counter, password her birthday, not exactly sophisticated security. The photos were all there, financial statements, property deeds, trust documents, insurance policies, 2 years of photographing my paperwork, systematic, chronological, organized into folders labeled by asset type, a doctoral thesis on my financial life. Her car next. The gym bag in the trunk held the usual yoga clothes, water bottle. Glove compartment, search turned up registration, insurance card, napkins from restaurants. Then, under the passenger seat wrapped in a scarf, the burner phone. Cheap prepaid cell, the kind you buy at a convenience store with cash. Turning it on revealed no password, just dozens of text messages between Vanessa and a contact saved as JK. The messages went back 14 months. JK saying, how much access does he give you to the accounts? Vanessa limited still, he's cautious. But I'm working on it. JK timeline, Vanessa another year, maybe 18 months. He trusts completely now. JK, good. Keep documenting everything. We need full asset picture before we move. Scrolling through months of strategy sessions, asset valuations, timeline discussions. Then, 3 weeks ago, Vanessa, he trusts completely. Another year and everything transfers smoothly. JK, perfect. Stay patient. After photographing every message, I returned the phone exactly where I'd found it and went back inside. My hands were steady. Strange, I'd expected shaking, fury, breaking things. Instead, just cold, methodical. Like working a business deal with a dishonest partner. Which, I suppose, is exactly what this was. Tuesday morning, Daniel met me for coffee. Neutral ground near his architecture firm. Nowhere Vanessa might appear. He arrived looking worried. Dad, what's going on? You sounded weird on the phone. Why did you stop visiting? And I need complete honesty. Daniel shifted in his chair. I didn't stop. You seemed like you needed space. Did I tell you that? No. Vanessa did. Leaning forward, I asked, what exactly did she say? That you were stressed. That my visits reminded you too much of Mom. That you needed time to focus on your new marriage without complications. He paused. Dad, what's this about? Did she ever ask you about my estate? Trust documents, financial planning. Recognition flickered across Daniel's face. Twice. She said she wanted to understand our family structure better. To know how to fit in. He stopped. Oh God. She was lying, wasn't she? 2 years of isolating me from you while systematically stealing from me. The evidence on my phone, not everything, just enough to prove what was happening, made Daniel's face go pale. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have pushed back, should have. You believed my wife when she said I needed space. That's her fault, not yours. Putting the phone away, I continued. Something's very wrong and I'm handling it. But I need you to act normal around her. Can you do that? What are you going to do? I don't know yet. The lie came easily. knowing exactly what I was going to do, but not wanting Daniel involved in the details. For another hour we talked. Projects she'd derailed, family dinners he'd suggested, weekend trips he'd proposed. Every time, Vanessa had a reason why it wouldn't work, why I needed quiet, why he should give me space, walls built between us, quietly, efficiently, while smiling at family dinners and asking about his work. 2 weeks later, Vanessa asked me to accompany her to a doctor's appointment. Just a routine checkup, but I'd like you there. For support. Almost saying no, but something in her tone raised suspicion. This wasn't routine. The doctor's office was cheerful, pastel walls, parenting magazines, educational posters about prenatal vitamins. Wait, prenatal vitamins. The doctor came in smiling. Well, congratulations. Based on the ultrasound, you're about 12 weeks along. Everything looks perfectly healthy. Silence except for the gentle hum of medical equipment. 12 weeks pregnant. Vanessa was watching me carefully, gauging my reaction. A test, or leverage, or both. When were you planning to tell me? My voice sounded calm, steady, nothing like the chaos in my head. I wanted to be sure first, past the risky stage. I know how you worry. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. The doctor continued talking about prenatal care, nutrition, follow-up appointments. Nodding in appropriate places, saying the right things, playing the surprised but happy father, inside calculating. Pregnant this whole time. While forging my signature, photographing my documents, planning her exit with James Kellerman, strategy or complication. Either way, everything had changed. Simple divorce was impossible now. She'd use parental rights to access my assets, child support flowing for 18 years. And more importantly, an innocent life had nothing to do with her mother's betrayal. That night, Margaret's favorite chair held me. The leather wingback where she used to read, kept in my office after she died for big decisions. Calling Patricia, I said simply, "She's pregnant." Silence for a moment. How far along? 12 weeks. Just told me today. Well, the doctor told me. Vanessa brought me to the appointment like it was a surprise. Richard, this complicates everything legally. I know. That's why I'm calling. Can we protect my assets and still provide for the child? Yes. Patricia's voice was slow, careful. Irrevocable trusts. Child support calculated separately from marital assets. But it's going to be precise work. One mistake and she gets leverage. It needs to be done right. The baby is innocent. She gets everything she needs. Vanessa gets what she's legally entitled to. Nothing more. I'll start drafting documents tomorrow. But Richard, once we execute this, there's no walking it back. Are you certain? Looking around my office, at the files Vanessa had organized, the desk where she'd photographed my documents, the house we'd shared while she planned my financial destruction, the answer was clear. I've never been more certain of anything. Over the next week, Patricia's investigator delivered the rest. 3 work conferences Vanessa had attended in the past 18 months. Except the conferences didn't exist. The hotels were real. The meetings weren't. James Kellerman at each location. The investigator's photos showed hotel lobbies, coffee shops, restaurant tables covered in documents. No physical affair, just strategy sessions. Planning, calculating, an apartment lease prepared for downtown, filed under a shell company called Morrison Consulting LLC. Her exit plan, ready when she decided to leave. And the nearly $250,000 transferred to Marcus? His construction business drowning in debt, medical bills from his wife's surgery, equipment loans, supplier defaults. Suddenly everything paid off. He never questioned the miracle. Calling Marcus, I said I needed to discuss the business investment. Richard, thank you again for that. You saved my company. I'm happy to discuss terms, expansion plans, whatever you need. Marcus, did Vanessa explain where that money came from? She said you wanted to help family, that you saw potential in the business and wanted to invest. Did she show you any paperwork, any investment documents with my signature? Silence on the line. Marcus, be honest. Did you see my signature on anything? No. His voice was quiet. She just said you were a private investor, preferred to keep it simple. I didn't ask questions because I was desperate. That money was stolen from joint accounts. She forged my authorization. You weren't part of the fraud, but you benefited from it. A chair scraping, heavy breathing. Oh God, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I believe you. And I did. Marcus was weak, not criminal. Desperate, not malicious. But he'd still have to pay it back. 3 days of thinking about what came next. The legal route was straightforward: divorce, courts, public proceedings, fraud charges if I wanted them. Years of process, millions in legal fees, everything exposed to public scrutiny. And at the end, the courts would still give Vanessa something: spousal support, parental rights to access my assets through child support calculations. The system wasn't built for this kind of betrayal, so I built my own system. Saturday morning at Patricia's office. Coffee and urgency. I need to know if we can do this surgically. Protect everything. Provide for the baby. Give Vanessa exactly what she's legally entitled to, and not $1 more. Patricia pulled out a legal pad, started sketching structures. Irrevocable trusts. We create them for Daniel and future grandchildren, transfer properties into these entities. Once they're established, Vanessa has no claim; they're outside marital assets. What about the baby? Separate trust. Child support calculated independently. She gets what California law requires for the child's welfare, but it flows through controlled structures. You maintain oversight. Can she contest? Not if we do this right. You signed a prenuptial agreement before marriage. I wrote it myself. Remember the infidelity clause? Margaret had always said prenups were unromantic, but after her death, Patricia had insisted protection for Daniel's inheritance. The agreement seemed reasonable then. What's the language? Patricia pulled out the file and read aloud. Infidelity is defined as physical, emotional, or financial betrayal of marital trust. In the event of proven infidelity, the unfaithful party forfeits claim to spousal support beyond minimum legal requirements. The Kellerman texts count as emotional betrayal, and the forged signatures count as financial betrayal. Patricia's confirmation was firm. She violated the agreement multiple times. Systematically. Sitting back, I asked, so what's the path? Patricia outlined the strategy: create the trusts immediately, transfer properties to legal entities I controlled, prepare documentation showing the forgeries and theft and Kellerman communications, calculate minimum child support based on California guidelines, freeze joint accounts the day we execute, file post-nuptial fraud documentation. This will hurt her completely. She'll lose access to everything except what the law requires for the baby. Are you certain about this? The memory surfaced. Vanessa at Margaret's funeral. I hadn't noticed her there, but Patricia told me later she'd been in the back row, watching. Taking notes, apparently, on who I was, what I had, how vulnerable I looked. I'm certain. What about Marcus? The stolen money. Call the loan. Give him terms. If he repays what was taken, the business survives. If not, it gets liquidated. He's innocent in this. He benefited from theft. Innocent or not, he has to make it right. Patricia made notes. This is going to take precision. One legal misstep and she gets leverage. Then we don't misstep. That night, Margaret's wingback held me again. The leather worn where her shoulders used to rest. A small box stayed in the desk drawer. Her wedding ring, some photos. A letter she'd written me during chemotherapy that I'd never been able to read all the way through. Taking out the ring, I turned it over in my fingers. Margaret would have told me to forgive. She believed in second chances, in seeing the humanity in everyone, in choosing grace over judgment. But Margaret never knew betrayal like this. Never had someone perform love as strategy, use grief as an opening, turn intimacy into inventory. And Margaret wasn't here to guide me through this. The decision was mine alone. Was I becoming what I hated? Using systems and calculations like Vanessa did, matching her coldness with my own? Or just protecting what was mine, ensuring justice when the courts wouldn't deliver it? The line felt thin, dangerously thin, but one thought kept returning. She'd planned this for 2 years, methodically, patiently. She'd used my grief over Margaret, my loneliness, my desire for family. She'd turned my dead wife's memory into an opportunity. And now she was pregnant with my child, while still maintaining her exit strategy. The apartment lease proved it. She planned to leave eventually, after securing maximum assets. The baby wasn't stopping her plan. The baby was complicating it. For both of us. Margaret's ring went back in the drawer. I'm sorry, I said to the empty office. To Margaret's memory. To whoever I used to be before learning that love could be a performance. Then the call to Patricia came easily. Execute everything. I want documents ready by Thursday. When her credit cards stop working, when the accounts freezes, when everything changes, I want it to happen all at once. Surgical. Complete. Richard, once this starts, I know. No walking it back. I'm ready. Thursday then. Hanging up, I looked around my office at the life I'd built, the assets I'd accumulated, the family I'd tried to rebuild. Vanessa wanted to take it quietly, piece by piece. Over years, I was going to take it back in a single day. Fair is fair. Thursday morning arrived cold and clear. The usual routine: wake at 5:30, run, shower, coffee. Vanessa came downstairs at 7, already dressed for her morning yoga class. Sleep well? She asked. Fine. You? The baby kept me up. Kicking. Her hand touched her stomach, 4 months along now, starting to show. Whether the baby was even kicking or just another performance, another way to remind me she carried leverage, impossible to know. Have a good class. She kissed my cheek. See you this afternoon. Love you. Love you too. The lie tasted like ash. At 7:15 her car disappeared down the street. Then the call to Patricia: execute. Confirmed. Starting now. At my office desk, phone in hand, I waited for the confirmations to roll in. 9:15 a.m. Text from Patricia: credit access terminated. Vanessa at the salon, her card declining at the front desk. Trying another card. Same result. The receptionist's apologetic expression. Vanessa's confusion. Huntery Ozers a.m. Text from financial advisor: joint accounts frozen per legal order. She'd be calling the bank by now. Being told that account holder Richard Harwell had suspended her access pending legal review, that she needed to contact his attorney. Noon. Text from Patricia: Marcus Morrison served notice of loan default. Marcus panicking, calling Vanessa, asking what the hell was happening, why Richard was calling his loan, what had she done. 20:00 p.m. Text from property attorney: deed transfers complete. Properties now held in Harwell Family Trust. Everything I owned was now legally separate from my marriage and protected. 3:30 p.m. My phone rang. Vanessa. 4 rings before I answered. Richard. Her voice was tight, controlled, but the panic underneath was audible. Something's wrong with the bank accounts. My cards aren't working. I've been trying to reach you. I've been in meetings. What's the problem? They said you suspended my access. Is that true? Yes. Silence. Her breathing filled the line. Why? You should call your attorney. You'll receive documentation tomorrow morning. It will explain everything. Richard, I'm 4 months pregnant. What are you doing? Protecting my assets from theft. And providing for our child separately. She'll have everything she needs. You'll have exactly what you're legally entitled to. I don't understand. Yes, you do. The forged signatures. The money you stole from Marcus. The apartment lease under Morrison Consulting LLC. The 14 months of text messages with James Kellerman. Should I continue? The silence stretched longer this time. How long have you known? Her voice was different now. Colder. The mask slipping. 3 weeks. I watched you perform concern while pregnant with my child and planning your exit strategy. That's when I knew what you really were. So this is revenge. No. This is justice. You spent 2 years planning to take what's mine. I'm simply taking it back. Come home, we'll discuss this properly. The call ended. 4:00 p.m. Unknown number. Or Mr. Harwell, this is James Kellerman. I think there's been some misunderstanding about. Does your wife know you're calling? Pause. I don't know what you mean. The year of text messages with Vanessa. The strategy sessions. The asset discussions. The contingency planning. Does your wife know about any of that? Longer pause. Or Mr. Harwell, let's not be hasty about. I sent her copies this morning. All of them. The screenshots Vanessa thought were private. Your wife should have them by now. How's that going for you, James? You had no right. I had every right. You helped my wife plan to steal from me. Now you can explain to your wife why you were so invested in another woman's financial future. Good luck. Click. 5:30 p.m. Marcus called. Richard, please. I got a notice about the loan. They're calling it due. My business will. You have 2 options, Marcus. Repay the money over reasonable terms and your business survives. Or don't, and it gets liquidated to cover the debt. You have 48 hours to decide. I didn't know the money was stolen. I swear, I believe you. But you still benefited from theft. Ignorance doesn't erase that. 48 hours. The call ended before he could respond. 6:00 p.m. Driving home, Vanessa's car was already in the driveway. Expected she had nowhere else to go. The apartment lease didn't start for another month. Kellerman wouldn't take her calls now. Not with his wife knowing everything. Marcus was dealing with his own crisis. All her exits were closed. Walking into the house, I found her standing in the living room, waiting. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly like a shield. We looked at each other across the space. Neither of us spoke. Rehearsed speeches evaporated. All the planned words disappeared, standing there actually seeing her. She looked scared, genuinely scared. For a moment, just a brief second, guilt flickered. Then the burner phone flashed through my mind. The forged signatures. 2 years of calculated performance. The patient, methodical way she'd used my grief over Margaret. The guilt passed. We should talk. She nodded. Walking past her to my office, I sat down at my desk. The same desk where she'd photographed my documents. The same room where she'd sorted through my life like inventory. She stood in the doorway. Didn't come in. Didn't sit. Just stood there with her hand on her stomach, watching me with those green eyes that had seemed so warm 2 years ago. Tomorrow morning you'll receive legal documentation, prenuptial agreement enforcement, evidence of forgery, evidence of theft, evidence of your communications with Kellerman. Read it carefully. Bring an attorney if you have one. Richard, I'm not discussing this tonight. Tonight you can stay in the guest room. Tomorrow, we'll have the conversation properly, with lawyers if necessary. I'm carrying your child, I know, and she'll have everything she needs. Full child support, health insurance, education funding. I'm not punishing an innocent baby for what her mother did. Then what are you doing? Protecting myself. Something I should have done 2 years ago. She stared at me. I stared back. Finally, she turned and walked upstairs. The guest room door closed. Until midnight, I sat in my office waiting for satisfaction, for the rush of justice, for something that felt like winning. Instead, just tired, empty, vindicated but hollow. The victory was real, everything protected, her plans stopped, consequences delivered. But sitting there in the dark, one thought dominated. This is what my life had become. Strategic revenge against the woman sleeping upstairs, carrying my daughter. In the house I'd hoped would be a home, victory felt a lot like losing. Friday morning, 9 o'clock. Every piece of evidence spread across my desk: prenuptial agreement, forged signatures, bank records, Kellerman's text messages, property transfers, everything documented, everything verified. Vanessa came downstairs exactly at 9, dressed carefully in professional slacks and a silk blouse that accommodated her pregnancy. Hair pulled back. No makeup. She looked tired, standing in the doorway. She didn't come in. Are you going to invite me to sit? No, this won't take long. She stayed where she was, hand on her stomach. Always the hand on her stomach. You're going to destroy me over money. I'm carrying your child. You destroyed us long before I found out. Every touch, every smile, every I love you, calculated. You turned my grief into opportunity. I gave you comfort when you had nothing. You were alone, broken. I was there, you gave me performance. The prenuptial agreement slid across the desk. There's a difference. I loved you. You auditioned. Infidelity clause. Physical, emotional, or financial betrayal. You violated all three. These are your text messages with Kellerman. 14 months of planning, strategy sessions, asset discussions. That's emotional betrayal. The forged signatures followed. 8 documents. 8 forgeries. Nearly $250,000 stolen and transferred to your brother. That's financial betrayal. She stared at the documents. Said nothing. Your attorney can contest if you want, but Patricia drafted this prenup. It's airtight. You signed it willingly. You violated it systematically. The court will enforce it. Vanessa's expression shifted. The fear was gone. Something colder emerged. I was protecting myself. After watching my mother lose everything in divorce, I wasn't going to make the same mistake. I needed security. Then you should have married someone you loved and built security together. Instead, you married a portfolio and started embezzling. So what now? You leave your child without a mother's security. Destroy Marcus too. The child gets full support, generous support, health insurance, education fund. Everything she needs flows through a trust I control. You get child support and nothing else. Marcus repays what you stole with reasonable terms. His business survives if he makes it right. And Kellerman. Already handled. Called his wife yesterday morning. Sent her everything. He's dealing with his own consequences now. Vanessa actually smiled. A cold, thin smile. You were supposed to be different. I am different. That's why your daughter will have everything. That's why Marcus gets a second chance. That's why you're not facing fraud charges. Though Patricia says we have enough evidence, different doesn't mean stupid. Everyone uses everyone, Richard. I just admitted it. You used me for comfort, to not be alone after Margaret. I used you for security. At least I was honest about what I wanted. No. I wanted a partner, someone to build a life with. You wanted a transaction. That's the difference you'll never understand. She looked at me for a long moment. Really looked at me. When did you know? Quiet now. Patricia called 3 weeks ago. I watched you during those weeks. Watched you perform care while 4 months pregnant and still planning your exit. That apartment lease, filed 2 weeks ago. You were still building your escape route while carrying my child. Something flickered across her face. Not quite shame. Maybe recognition. I was scared. You were calculating. There's a difference. Scared people make mistakes. You made methodical, patient, strategic decisions over 2 years. You weren't scared. You were predatory. And this? She gestured at the documents. This systematic destruction. Freezing my accounts, calling Marcus's loan, exposing Kellerman to his wife. That's not predatory, that's protective. You took my trust. I'm taking back my future. Silence settled between us. Morning light came through the windows, dust particles drifting in the beams. Everything looked normal. Domestic, like a regular Friday morning in a regular marriage, except nothing about this was regular anymore. What happens now? You have 30 days to find somewhere to live. Child support will be wired monthly. You'll receive documentation for all medical expenses, which will be covered. When the baby is born, we'll establish a custody arrangement. Civil. Minimal contact, everything through attorneys. I can't afford. The child support is calculated to cover housing, food, basic needs. It's generous within legal guidelines. You'll mad us. There is no us. There never really was. Just your performance and my grief. She turned to leave, then stopped. You know what's funny? She didn't look back. I did care about you. In my own way. I enjoyed our conversations, liked your mind, respected what you built. It wasn't all calculation. That makes it worse. You had the capacity to care and chose strategy instead. That's not unfortunate. That's tragic. Upstairs, drawers opened. Closet doors, the sounds of packing. By noon, her car was loaded, boxes in the back seat, suitcases in the trunk. Through the ceiling, I'd heard the conversation with her brother. Marcus was letting her stay with him temporarily. Despite everything, family was family. She came to the office door one last time. You'll regret this. When our daughter asks why her parents aren't together, you'll remember this moment. No. I'll tell her the truth when she's old enough. That her mother chose strategy over love. That I protected both of us. She'll understand. You're a cold man, Richard. I learned from an excellent teacher. She stared at me. I stared back. 2 people who'd shared a bed, a home, intimate moments. Now strangers, adversaries. Parents to a child who would grow up in the wreckage. Goodbye, Vanessa. She didn't respond. Just turned and walked out. From the window, I watched as she backed out of the driveway, the car disappearing down the street. The same street she'd driven down every morning for 2 years to yoga, to the salon, to meet Kellerman, to whatever appointments filled her carefully scheduled life. Now leaving for the last time, the house felt enormous, silent, empty in a way it hadn't felt even after Margaret died. Margaret's chair held me while I closed my eyes. My phone buzzed. Daniel? Dad, you okay? Can you come over? On my way. Looking around the office at the evidence still spread on my desk, at the house I'd won back, at the life I'd protected, victory. It tasted like ashes. That was 18 months ago. People ask if I regret it, if I'd do things differently. The answer is complicated. Protecting my assets, no regret. Stopping her, no regret. Ensuring Daniel's inheritance stayed secure, those were necessary actions, survival moves. But I regret that it was necessary in the first place. Regret believing love could happen twice. Regret that my daughter will grow up knowing this story, that her first years will be marked by custody exchanges and calculated civil distance between her parents. Some prices are worth paying. Loneliness with dignity beats intimacy built on lies. I know that now, understand it in my bones. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. The revenge cost me more than expected. Hope mostly. The hope that companionship was still possible in my later years, that someone could see me, not my portfolio, and choose to build something real. 56 now, built a fortune, lost a wife to cancer, raised a good son, got betrayed, got justice, alone again. But this time, I chose it. That makes all the difference. Vanessa and I communicate only through attorneys. Child support flows monthly. Medical expenses get covered immediately. When my daughter was born, 6 pounds, 8 ounces, perfect fingers, Vanessa's green eyes, and my stubborn chin, I was there. Held her in the hospital. Felt that overwhelming love that comes with being a father. Then handed her back to Vanessa and left. Every other weekend, visitation. My daughter is 6 months old now. Doesn't know yet that her parents' story is complicated. Doesn't understand why daddy and mommy don't live together. Right now, she just sees faces she loves. Eventually, she'll ask questions. When she does, the truth comes out, age-appropriate truth. That her mother and I wanted different things. That sometimes adults make mistakes. That she was loved and wanted, even if the relationship wasn't built to last. No lies. Not like Vanessa lied to me. Daniel visits twice a week now. We rebuilt what Vanessa tried to break. He brings his girlfriend sometimes. They talk about their future, marriage, kids, building something real, listening and giving advice when asked. Mostly just enjoying having my son back. Marcus is repaying the money. $2,000 a month. 10 years total. His business is surviving. No personal conversations, just automated payments and annual financial reviews. He sent a Christmas card last year. No response came. James Kellerman got divorced. Lost his firm in the settlement. Moved to Arizona. Heard that through business channels. Didn't follow up. His consequences were his own. Patricia still handles my legal work. Still invites me to dinners I sometimes attend now. She was right about everything. Should have listened earlier. But grief makes you blind to red flags. Dating occasionally. Nothing serious. Probably never will be again. Trust, once shattered like mine was, doesn't rebuild the same way. More careful now. More guarded. Some women find that cold. Others understand. Mostly being alone is okay. Every morning at 5:30, the run happens. Work on my properties. Weekends with my daughter. Dinner with Daniel. Reading the books Margaret loved. Sitting in her chair when making big decisions. Life isn't what I imagined at 56, but it's honest, real, mine. Vanessa wanted security. I wanted family. We both failed to see each other clearly. But something valuable emerged from the wreckage. Trust isn't weakness. Protecting what matters isn't cruelty. And loneliness with integrity is infinitely better than intimacy built on performance. She took my trust. I took back my future. And my daughter, she'll know the difference between love and transaction. I'll make sure of that. It's enough. It has to be. This morning, sitting in Margaret's chair, my daughter sleeps in the portable crib I keep in my office for visitation weekends. Daniel is coming for breakfast. The sun rises over the city I helped build. Justice was served. The right way, the hard way. And if that victory feels hollow sometimes, well, that's the price of doing what's necessary instead of what's easy. I'd pay it again. If this story made you think about trust, betrayal, or the complicated nature of justice, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe to Familix's Revenge. It helps me continue sharing real experiences like mine. Thanks for listening to my story.